Di video pembelajaran bahasa Inggris kali ini, kita akan membaca dan mendengarkan sebuah cerita yang berjudul Crime Fighters. Alright, without further ado, let's jump right into it. People around the world know the many stories about Sherlock Holmes' endless fight against crime. The writer Sir Arthur Conan Doyle gave life to Sherlock Holmes in more than 50 books and short stories. Most often, Holmes' adventures in London's underworld took place with his longtime friend, Dr. Watson. The name of one of these stories is The Adventure of the Empty House. The story took place late one foggy, moonless evening in London about 1895. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson got into a taxi. Dr. Watson had his gun in his pocket and the feeling of high adventure in his heart. As always, he was excited and on the edge of his seat. Holmes, on the other hand, was cold and kept quiet. As the taxi was going down the street, now and then Watson could see Holmes' face when the street lights came through the windows. From the fact that Holmes did not say a word, Watson knew that he was thinking deeply about a case or something very serious. No doubt, his mind was fixed on the danger, maybe even the deadly danger that was coming closer, ever closer. No one ever knows exactly what is going on in another person's mind. At first, Watson thought they were going to Holmes' apartment on Baker Street, but then suddenly the taxi came to a stop and the two men got out, still without a word. Holmes took a look up and down the street. As soon as he was sure that there was no one, he took his friend's arm and, keeping in the shadows as much as possible, went along a narrow, dirty street and through the back door of a house. There was no light in the house. It was completely dark, but Watson knew from the sounds of their steps that the house was empty. With Holmes' cold fingers still round his arm, they went up to the second floor and through two empty rooms. At last, they went into a third room. It was also empty, but a little light was coming through the window. So Watson could see shadows. Holmes, letting Watson's arm go, said quietly, "Do you know where we are?" Keeping the same mood of mystery in his voice, Dr. Watson said, "Yes, Holmes, this is Baker Street. We seem to be in the old house directly across from your apartment, but I don't have the least idea why we are here or what you want to do." "We are here," said Holmes, "because we can see everything from here. Come a little closer to the window and take a look across the street at my apartment window. What do you see, Watson?" When Watson went closer to the window, he had an even greater surprise, because there, directly across the street in Holmes' window, was Sherlock Holmes in a chair reading a book, or so it seemed. Dr. Watson put out his hand to make sure the real Holmes was with him. "What a shock! I would say this is you at your reading table. It seems to me that you are doing some work on a case or something like that." "Yes, it is very much like me, don't you think? A friend of mine made that shadow cutout a few days ago. It took him 2 days. I think it is really quite good. In any case, good enough." "But why, Holmes? What this all about? Why are you keeping me in the dark? Let me know what's going on. I'm part of this and I have a right to know. No lies, not even little white ones. I want to know every detail of this case." Holmes said in his deep, most sincere voice, "My dear Watson, don't get angry with me. There is no reason to be angry. I want some people to think that I am in my room, that I am doing my work, as always. I think, my friend, that we are about to get a big fish, a really big fish." "Oh, I see now, Holmes. You think someone is after you." "I don't think it. I know it. Tonight we have a chance to get him. A good chance to get the leader of one of the worst gangs in London." "How do you know that?" "Because I saw one of his men a few days ago. He was nothing but a brainless gunman. We can get him and the other members of the gang anytime. I want the gang leader. I want the man who makes the decisions and gives the orders. I'm sure that he is responsible for much of our present crime wave here in London." I'm also sure that he is the same man who made an attempt on my own life in Switzerland last year. He's one of the worst killers in London. He doesn't let anything or anyone get in his way. He's the head of a gang of killers. That's the man who's after me tonight, and that's the man who doesn't know that we're after him. Okay, now I know what we are doing here. Everything is more or less clear to me. This is very serious business. It's really a question of life or death. I'm hopeful that the killer will be here in an hour or two. Watson, are you with me all the way? It's natural to be afraid, but you're very important to the success of my plan. You do have your gun, don't you? Keep it ready. Watson was very excited. His heart was going boom, 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 like a cat. He was ready for anything. Then, without another word between them, Holmes and Dr. Watson soundlessly took a few steps backward into the shadow of a dark corner. This was the start of a long wait. The minutes seemed to go by very slowly for Watson. He kept his eyes open, though it was getting very difficult. He was about to go to sleep on his feet when suddenly there was the sound of a door and then footsteps. Someone else was in the house and he was coming in their direction. Both Holmes and Watson were at full attention. The footsteps were getting louder and louder. Then there was a cough. Watson put his hand round the handle of his gun and took it out of his coat pocket. He knew that he was as ready as he would ever be. A minute later, a man came into the room and went directly to the open window. He took a long and careful look up and down the street to be sure that no one was there. Then from under his coat, he slowly took out a gun and got down on his knees. When he put the gun on the edge of the window, he had the crazy look of a killer in his eyes. Both Holmes and Watson knew the man was completely out of his mind when from deep inside him came a little laugh. It was clear that the man really thought this would be the best and maybe the easiest kill in his life. He seemed to take a long time to get ready, but at last he took a deep breath and then there was a little movement of his finger and the sound of broken glass. Suddenly, Holmes made a long jump and both men went down. Dr. Watson soon put a stop to the fight when he came down powerfully with the handle of his gun on the man's head. A minute later, when the fight was over, two policemen and a fat man with a round moon-like face came into the room. "Is that you, Lestrade?" "It's high time you got here," said Holmes. "Yes, Holmes, it's good to see you again. You really got the big one this time. My sincere congratulations." "Thank you, Lestrade, for your kind words. But you know, my one and only desire is to see my would-be killer in prison for the rest of his life." Baiklah, sampai di sini video pembelajaran bahasa Inggris yang membahas tentang cerita crime fighters kali ini. Semoga bermanfaat and thank you for watching.